This is Mr. Wilbur again with some tips for parents and the division strategies we're using in the classroom. The first division problem I'm going to work is we're going to use traditional division. Now keep in mind that the number inside of the division box is the dividend, the number outside the division box is the divisor, and my answer is my quotient. So to begin, I'm going to start with division. Okay, and I ask myself, how many times will 3 go into 7? Okay, so 3 will go into 7 2 times. Now I'm going to do multiplication, and I take 2 times 3, which equals 6. After I've multiplied, I'm going to subtract 7 minus 6, and I'm going to get 1. Then I'm going to bring down the 9. After I bring down, I always go back to division. 3 goes into 19 6 times. Do my multiplication. 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract. That leaves me with 1. I'm going to bring down again. 3 goes into 16 5 times. There's my division piece. 5 times 3 is 15. Do my subtraction again. That leaves me with 1. Since there's nothing left to bring down, 1 is now my remainder. Now, this strategy over here is partial quotients. This is something new to some of us. Partial quotients deals with powers of 10, or being able to multiply by multiples of tens, hundreds, and thousands. So this strategy starts out the same way with division, but instead of asking ourselves how many times does 3 go into 7, we're asking ourselves how many times does 3 go into 700? And I need to get as close to that number as possible using a multiple of 10. So I know that 3 times 2 is 6, but since I'm trying to get to 700, I want to take 3 times 200, and that's going to equal 600. So I transfer this number to here. 200 is the first partial quotient of this division problem. Now the next step is to multiply. So 200 times 3 is 600. Then I do my subtraction. 796 minus 600 is 196. Okay, in this type of strategy, there's no bringing down of any numbers, because after I subtract, I go straight back to my division. So now I'm looking at 196 divided by 3. In my head, I think of 196 as being 190 divided by 3. And again, I want to work with multiples of 10 here to come up with an answer that gets me close to 190, but not over it. So in this case, I know that 3 times 6 is 18, but it's not 18, it's 190, so 3 times 60 would be 180. So now I take this quotient and I put it on top of the other partial quotient. I do my multiplication, 60 times 3, and that's 180. I perform my subtraction. I end up with 16. Now this is pretty much a basic fact. I know that 3 times 5 is 15. I do my subtraction. That leaves me with 1. I have nothing else to subtract from. So I add all these numbers together. I get 265, remainder 1. And although partial quotients may seem difficult, when you think about it, this is actually, in the traditional strategy, you're actually dividing 700 by 3, and that 2 represents the 200. So in using partial quotients, the students get to see the value of the numbers, and they get to do more mental math, which can possibly lead to less steps if they know their multiplication facts. I hope this helps.